In response to the Roger Waters controversy surrounding his concert in Germany, where he appeared in this garb that created all sorts of bad faith criticism thrown his way, presidential candidate RFK Jr. decided to defend him. And so he tweeted out the following in response to the controversy.
That's what the Kennedys call profiles in courage.
Yeah, right, exactly. A profile in courage. Here's Robert Kennedy Jr. Tweets, Roger, you are the global hero Orwell had in mind when he said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. The high priests of the totalitarian orthodoxies are trying to silence you with censorship, gaslighting, and defamation. Please keep speaking truth to power. What a wonderful statement. But, if you look towards the bottom of the screen there, you will see that that tweet had since been deleted. He deleted that tweet pretty shortly after he issued it. As you could see, 1 million views, 1,400 retweets, did pretty well. But he took it down.
I'm working on a sequel to my uncle's book. It's going to be called Profiles in Deleted Courage.
Yeah, Profiles in Redacted Courage. Right? Yeah, exactly. So let's take a look at his updated tweet in response to having deleted his initial show of support. In my remarks about Roger Waters, I was referring to his dissent on COVID, of course, and the war in Ukraine. I have only recently learned about some of his other views, which I do not share. I support Israel's right to exist within secure borders, and I also support the legitimate aspirations of the Palestinian people. So that disappointed quite a few people, including those who had perhaps been warming to RFK over the past few weeks and months. And
we called it. We
called it. And one person who actually took matters into his own hands to press him on this issue further was our friend Craig Pasta Jardula, who oddly enough issued a tweet when Roger Waters deleted that initial show of support saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't jump on the guy too much. Maybe we should hear him out. And he got a lot of pushback for saying that. But to his credit, he was at an RFK campaign event today in New Hampshire, and he asked him to explain why the change in tone, why the change of heart, why did he initially express support and then retract it. So this is a clip that's been making the rounds on Twitter. So thank you, Pasta, for doing this. Very good job here. Let's hear RFK explain his thought process.
Mr. Kennedy, a lot of people are confused about the tweet storm. I call it the tweet heard around the world. A couple of tweets were put up in support of Roger Waters and then taken down. Do you want to give us a little explanation of why they were taken down and also your stance on Israel and Palestine?
Yeah, I tweeted that. I made the tweet applauding Roger Waters' courage in opposing the COVID mandates and the Ukraine war. I was unaware of his position on Israel. And when I learned that, I immediately took it down. My position of Israel is that I support Israel. My family has a long relationship with Israel. I support its right to exist and its right to protect its security.
Not very impressive there. And, look, one of the reasons I say that is, not just because he retracted his support for Roger Waters, but also the concert in question was clearly having to do with his stance on Israel. Now, look, even if you didn't know that going in, you certainly know he wasn't in hot water over COVID-related shit or over the Ukraine war. Like, that wasn't the subjects being litigated, right? And like that had nothing to do with why he was in trouble. So why would you issue a statement of support based on your sort of areas of agreement with Roger Waters over issues that were not relevant to this particular dispute, right? That's a little bit of like, okay, well, why would you chime in just because you like Roger Waters' opinion on these other things? Like, you didn't understand what the controversy was?
To be fair, Bobby seems like the kind of guy who probably tripped on acid to the Metal album. So he's probably adored the band since the Syd Barrett days. I think he fired off a tweet without bothering to find out what the controversy was.
Yeah, that sounds like that's probably what it was. That's probably
they're pushing back on Roger Waters, and he agrees with me on COVID lockdown. Blah, blah, blah. Just wrote a tweet.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, I would probably guess you are right about that. But the other thing about that answer is it doesn't address any concern for the Palestinian people. And Pasta follows up with him and says, hey, in that answer you gave, what about the Palestinian people?
And the Palestinians?
And a humane outcome and a recognition ultimately of the aspirations of the Palestinian people is important for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so that's a lot like speaking to, I believe in the humane treatment and the aspirations of the black people in South Africa. Yeah, it's important that we have some sort of consideration for them too, but I support the South African apartheid regime. That's a lot of what that sounds like there. That's just a very mild way of talking about a very, very serious issue. This was a tweet that Claire Daly, who is a member of the European Parliament, issued today. This was a video that she put out detailing some of what's been going on in the West Bank and in Gaza as recently as this month. Some pretty staggering numbers she reads off here.
For 5 days earlier this month, Israel attacked and bombed Gaza 323 times. 10 civilians were killed, 1,100 people displaced. More than 150,000 Palestinian civilians have been killed or injured in Gaza and the West Bank since 2008. 33,000 of those were children. The EU stands by and watches this happen and calls Israel our friend. We construct houses and schools in the West Bank. The Israelis come and destroy them. We cannot consider ourselves a union of values and continue to call Israel our friend. We need to have this conversation, but in light of the time constraints that we are now already under, and the positive remarks by some of the other groups that they will facilitate a full and necessary debate on this in June, I'll withdraw it on that basis.
All right.
That guy. Girl.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, look, that is the way you have to speak about these things. If you are a leader of conviction, if you're a leader worth supporting, and especially if you're a leader with, I'm sorry to burst the bubble of those who have their hopes up about him becoming the 47th president of the United States, but a candidate with such little shot to win, like if you want us to rally around a candidate in principle because we think they're fighting the good fight for its own sake, I'm sorry, this is a red line for a lot of people. This is an issue that you have to be right about. This is an issue that Bernie Sanders is not very strong on, although even Bernie is stronger than that. I think even Bernie dipshit Sanders would have enough balls to not say a thing like that. And so, that's an issue that you have to be a lot better on if you want this sort of credibility that you've been trying to earn with factions of the left that, obviously RFK has some momentum within. But that is just a very, very disappointing chapter in a campaign that is trying to brand itself as the moral alternative to Biden and Trump or whoever the Republicans nominate, right? I mean, that's a very, very severe misstep. And, you see this circle up, you see this sentiment sort of bubble up online when these issues have their day, which every few months, these issues sort of get their day in the sun and then they go away a little bit, unfortunately. People are very, very passionate about this issue, just like they're very passionate about the jab issue, which is why RFK has that solid base of support that he does. But this is another one of those issues that people who take anti-establishment politics very seriously, in this case, the sort of Israel criticism is more a left-wing thing than a right-wing thing, obviously. But this is not something that people are particularly soft on for a very good reason. And so, he really stepped in it there.
Yeah, for politicians of his generation, Israel, going against Israel was just absolutely verboten. It was, he's coming from a time and a place where that's synonymous with anti-Semitism. And I felt like looking at how he's handled all this, that's kind of where he's coming from. He's coming from a much older politics around Israel. To him, conceding Palestinian rights is already being modern, right? Like the idea of calling Israel an apartheid state, you'll never get that from RFK. You're never getting that from the guy who, look, as soon as he called Joe Biden his good friend, that was all I needed to know.
Please clap.